Hello, my friend, and welcome to today's episode number 115, Owning Your Negative Emotions. And today I want to jump right into it without wasting much time because I think I can go off on a tangent and then that can make the episode lengthier. I really want you to have crisp content. Now, I always break down this podcast into small reels, so you can always find my this content in reel format, short consumable format on my Instagram channel. So if you're not following me yet, you can find me on Instagram as Dr. Rashmi Pawar, OBGYN coach, and you can listen to all of this content in short forms over there. All right. So today we are going to talk about emotional stressors. So stress is basically something which is affecting everything in our life lately, isn't it? So many health conditions are caused due to stress, and PCOS itself worsens with stress. Apart from diabetes, hypertension, and not just that, there are like so many health conditions which are caused due to stress, and doctors don't really know how to tell you to heal the stress, right? So they don't have the answers. Now, when it comes to PCOS actually worsens with stress, because what happens with stress is that whenever you're stressed, extremely stressed, your cortisol hormone rise. That is actually the stress hormone. And when your cortisol is raised, your insulin resistance worsens. So, for us to reverse PCOS, we need to find ways to reduce our stress, the emotional stress. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you the best way to handle stress. That is by owning it completely. So, let's start with what is emotional stress. Emotional stress refers to as the negative feelings and reactions that occur in response to pressures, demands, and challenges from the external environment or internal thoughts. It is a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. Now, emotional stress can also manifest in various ways, including feelings like anxiety, sadness, overwhelm, irritability, and frustration. Now, unlike physical stress, which is a direct response to a physical threat or exertion, emotional stress often seems to stem from one's perceptions, thoughts, and beliefs in reaction to situations. It can be triggered by a wide range of events or circumstances, from major life changes and challenges to daily hassles and interpersonal conflicts. Like things like someone passing away, you being robbed, you failing something, to your day to day stress, which can be just traveling and commuting and traffic and people at work fighting, all of that. So, for many of us, we are very detached from how we feel. So many of us have no understanding what feeling is like. Nobody really taught us that, right? Some can recognize good and bad. Like I used to recognize it as good day and bad day, and it was always a bad day. Some can recognize it as positive and negative. So we can also find it as happy, sad, scared, and angry. But if we dig it further, we can find hundreds of emotions, which are nothing but language used to describe how we feel. And I talk about it in depth in episode number 67, Emotional Scale. Now, I created this emotional scale, I adapted it from Abraham Hicks, and that's very easy for me to understand emotions. And that's what I want to offer you, that you can also try this. So please have a listen to episode 67 on emotional scale. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about negative emotions causing emotional stress, right? So, emotional stress is nothing but negative emotions. All those bad feelings can cause emotional stress. Now, emotional management is actually the missing piece when it comes to weight loss and PCOS. My coach always says actually that we don't have an overeating problem, we have an underfeeling problem. And I like to think we feel all the feelings in between meal times, in between snacks. But when it's time to eat, we go all in to suppress all of those negative emotions and make them go away by eating something yummy and delicious. And sometimes it's not even delicious, but we just eat and overeat and snack so that we can get some dopamine hit, some relief from whatever negative emotion we are already having. And the act of eating by itself is soothing. Like since birth, children are wired genetically to eat, and that's comforting for them, right? So, plus culturally, food has always been a way to cope with emotions. People still celebrate with food because there are so many humans in one place who might kill each other. So people just keep food so that they don't kill each other. However, we are PCOS women are actually choosing the wrong foods, which are making our PCOS worse. Now we can actually stop just having these foods. We can just decide that, oh, we no longer have these foods. Unfortunately, that's not successful because of how we have connected our emotions to these foods. Now we can interrupt all of that by owning our negative emotions or by owning our own stressors. Like really being honest, like, oh, I'm feeling this. Oh, this feeling is coming from this thought. I'm thinking this. Taking full accountability for what we are thinking and feeling will help you break this pattern where you will go to the food first. Now, this doesn't mean we should get depressed or take our negative emotions for what they are. We want to use existing negative emotions as a stepping stone towards what we want. And Abraham Hicks says that, like, contrast or a negative emotion is nothing but an indicator that we don't have that thing that we want. So we use a negative emotion to guide us to why we don't have what we don't have, right? Like whatever we desire. Also, when we own our negative emotion, we want to stop taking action from them. There are no bad feelings. There are just regrettable actions that happen when we are stressed or when we are guilty or when we are worried. So, if you're like eating constantly, that is happening because of the feeling. So, you can interrupt the action of eating. Stress is not really bad. So, in weight loss, it could look like you are upset and you don't want to use food to make the upset go away. Instead, we want to feel upset first. Let it sit in our body for 5 to 10 minutes. And if it's still there, you can get curious about why are we upset and solve for it while staying focused on a plan to eat healthy. Now, feeling your feelings doesn't have to be actually 5 to 10 minutes. Like you are, as a human being, very good at feeling the feelings. Now, I say this, right? Like in between meals, we are actually feeling all the feelings. Now, you might be thinking, oh, when's the meal time? When's the next meal time? I can't wait. I can't wait. But even when that's happening and you're not eating, you're feeling your emotions and it feels really uncomfortable. But if you're like, okay, I'm feeling this, and it's just a vibration in your body, and I'm going to talk more about how that vibration is nothing but literally a vibration. It's really nothing, like you're not getting a heart attack. So nothing bad is really happening to your body, just feeling it, right? It's like when you're watching a scary movie and you feel the fear and terror, you know you're safe in your house. There's nothing really going on. It's just your thoughts, what they're showing is generating thinking, which is generating that feeling, right? It's not really going to harm you. So if you sit with an emotion for say, like in the beginning, you'll have to sit for like at least 5 to 10 minutes to recognize what's happening in your body. But after some time, you can do it on the go. Like you can recognize, oh, I have an urgency to go and eat something, but I'm not gonna do it. So you like sit with that negative emotion where you feel this urgent desire, but you're like, no, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna like not reward myself with food or not make it go away with food. I'm just gonna like let it vibrate in my body and disappear, right? Like when you are watching a movie and there comes a scene where you get choked up and you're like, oh my god, can't believe it, tears are coming out. Like that happens to me. And then I used to feel so embarrassed before. Now I'm like, I just like shed a tear and then I move on. I know my husband will make fun of me, but I'm like, to hell with him. I don't care. Like that just was like a very touchy moment. But that doesn't mean I made that moment go away with food or popcorn. Like I never do that. I enjoy feeling that feeling. So we want to sit with the emotion, and sometimes we can even solve for it. Like we can be like, why am I feeling this way? While you are still focused on eating as planned your healthy food. What do you think? What are your thoughts on experiencing negative emotions? Do you resist them or do you avoid them? Now, most of us resist these stressors. They will keep thinking of food while feeling upset. So, like in between meals, if you're like, when's my next meal? Like you feel that something happens, like, oh my God, I need to finish this much work. Like, I can't believe it. I need this thing to eat. I would like have this cup of coffee or like something. I need something in front of me so that I can like feel sort of energized so that I can do that work, right? You don't need to do that. Like you could just be like, I'm gonna just do this work because like that just doesn't happen. I don't need to bombard myself with caffeine, right? So we want that upset to go away urgently. We really feel that it needs to not be there. We like if you sit with it, like sometimes we can't even sit with it. We like immediately get up. That is how we resist an emotion. And every time you resist an emotion, it just grows. So that is not owning emotions, but it's just like resisting it. It's like look at it like you know those beach balls which are like so light and airy like a balloon. Try to put that underwater. It's like you're pushing it really hard. You're pushing it really hard. It's like stay down, stay down. But it's like you're resisting it, right? Like, and then you release it and it just comes out. It just comes up, floats up, right? So instead of like pushing it down, you could just be like, just float around. Nothing bad will happen if you just float around. Nothing bad will happen if this feeling just comes out. So, but some of us were like, get scared of that negative emotion and would succumb to smoking or vaping or scrolling on social media or shopping or TV. Sometimes we might even distract ourselves with like something not so harmful, like work or exercise. That is how we are actually avoiding an emotion and distracting ourselves with it. We don't want to do that. We just want that emotion to come up and just be, right? We want to literally let it simmer through our body without us acting from it. It will come up and it will fizzle off. When we are able to experience negative feelings in our everyday lives, it is then that we can notice that we are actually happy and blissful. Because if you're happy all the time, you don't even know that you're happy. I believe that happiness requires the presence of unhappiness. Otherwise, without unhappiness, happiness cannot exist. And that they're basically two sides of the same coin. Sometimes we forget this and then we try to push the unhappiness away, the disappointment, the fear, go away, go away. We think that something has gone wrong terribly because of their presence. Actually, nothing has gone wrong. And this is probably because we are culturally raised that way. Like when we are taught, like, don't cry. When people come and tell my child when she's crying, hey, you should not cry, like my mom, dad will come and say, or my in-laws will say, oh no, no, don't cry. I'm like, no, let her just cry. Because she's processing her emotion. Like children know that so well. So we were raised to say that no, do not cry, do not get angry, right? You need to be happy all the time, smile all the time. And it's the media mostly, not even our family. Like the ads that we see, the magazines that we read, and now Instagram and social media, like everyone's just posting all these amazing things. Nobody's posting about the shit that they're going through, right? So that is our upbringing. Nothing wrong with it. It's just that we have a human mind with a past. So the brain will constantly scan the situation around you and offer you thoughts to keep you safe. And it's basically just trying to protect you. Unfortunately, these thoughts produce negative feelings. Feelings like fear, anxiety, doubt, worry, disappointment, inadequacy. And none of these feelings actually feel good. They don't. And that's why we want to suppress it or make it go away, right? And in PCOS, what we do is we use food to make them go away. We found out this amazing way of making these things go away. Not everyone makes these emotions go away with food. Some will make them go away with smoking and drinking and like gossiping, like the other weird things people do, right? But PCOS women, they're actually using food, that processed food, to make these emotions go away. Unfortunately, they go away for a while, but the feelings just come back. We didn't really solve for it, right? So what happens is, like, when they come back, we again go to food to make them go away. And that's how we worsen our PCOS. That's how we get addicted. That's how we connect these emotions with food. Now, I don't think we're supposed to be 100% happy. That's what heaven is for, probably. Like when you die, you're happy. Now, imagine this: you never experience a negative emotion all your life. How would you know if happiness is actually good, right? Like I'd seen a movie in which they lived in a world where people didn't know how to lie. Like lying was not a thing. Nobody knew that he could lie. And there was this guy who comes up with this. He was like, "Oh, I can just lie to people," and he just starts lying, and he becomes like very rich. And people still don't know the skill of lying. It was like a very weird movie. I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." So, like, if we didn't know what was happiness or what was unhappiness, we would never really care, right? So the best example, like, I can give you is that of having children. Hold on. So I don't think that we're supposed to be happy 100% of the times, right? Maybe we're supposed to feel this negative emotions. Let's say half of the time, not 10% or 20%, maybe half of the time, maybe sometimes more than that. And the best example of this is like having children. When anyone, when anyone who has a child, they are literally opening themselves up to the most pain, right? Most frustration that you probably ever experience in your life. Now, for those of you who have children, or those who love children, or who have nieces and nephews, or have children in their life, and you love them so madly, this is most likely because of the deep primal love that we feel, which is in our genes to love children. But apart from that deep primal love, you are also opening up yourself to the most excruciating kind of pain. And my child taught me what love was. Like, I did not know what unconditional love was. And at the same time, all my pain was brought to life when I had thoughts which made me worry about her, fear about her, doubt about her safety. So I think that welcoming both good and bad into our lives is part of human experience. And I think most of us go into having children knowing that we are going to experience some kind of pain with having children, the really intense pain. And we're still all in because we want to experience the joy of having children. So we still go for it, knowing that our heart is now going to be out running outside of my body in the child, and we always want our children to be happy. And that's the other piece to this. Like I always notice myself so often that I really want my child to be happy all the time. I have the sense that I would somehow make her a better life. I have to remind myself constantly, consistently, that her ability to deal with her negative emotion is going to come from experiencing the negative emotion. And if I constantly deprive her of her negative emotion, or tell her, "Oh, no, no, don't cry, don't get angry," I control her life in a way she won't ever experience negative emotion, and she's really going to miss out on the other half of experiencing what it is being alive. Now, we can choose to never enter in any relationship that will cause us pain and never have children, which is going to be painful, or avoid those experiences of contrast and negative emotions. But we are also going to miss out on the full experience of being a mother, being a family, being having children in the house, just like being alive. Life is good and bad. So I think the more alive we are willing to be, the more negative emotions we are going to experience. Now, that's not to say that we don't create that negative emotion, because we do. We create it with our thoughts. Those sentences in our mind, with the way we think, that doesn't mean that something has gone terribly wrong. It's just that those sentences are coming by default. A lot of times when we feel negative emotions, things are going terribly okay, actually. There's nothing wrong happening, and still we feel like shit. And then these emotions become our indicator that it's time to look in deeper and getting more curious about why do I feel this way. With my clients who life coaching and weight loss coaching, I would say there is an epidemic of people resisting and avoiding some random negative emotions. I think they're spending so much time trying to be happy without actually being happy. They really think that food is making them happy. They're resisting anything that feels like a negative emotion, negative vibration in their body. And the way that they do that is by pretending that these emotions don't exist, we push them away and they're avoiding it. Really understanding that the way to enjoy life is not by putting the brakes on negative emotions, and in fact, it's the opposite. It's by really opening ourselves up to diving into the negative emotion and give us the full experience of what it means to be alive. I think that is ultimate happiness. That's how we are living our life to our fullest. So, one of the first things that I do with my weight loss client is feeling well, because they're doing is that they're eating instead of feeling their emotions, right? So they're eating instead of feeling positive, they're eating instead of feeling negative. They haven't really established the skill of feeling, and they haven't given themselves the time to actually experience negative emotion during their day. They're spending so much time avoiding it by overeating that they're just compounding the issue by resisting it. So we need to talk about negative emotions and the resistance, because negative emotion is basically just a feeling that you experience because of a thought. It comes from our thinking, whereas resistance of negative emotion is coming from our thought that we should not be experiencing this negative emotion. That's where we constantly wrong our humanity, because it's human to feel angry, it's human to feel sad, it's human to feel insecure sometimes. By dedicating time daily to consciously become aware of these emotions, to feel and describe our negative emotions, we can begin to understand and accept them rather than fleeing from them. This practice not only allows us to experience the negative emotions without fear, but also enhances our capacity to experience positive emotions, leading to a more authentic and fulfilling life. Feeling our feeling is the most courageous thing anyone can do. And when you're willing to feel any emotion, that's when you're going to be willing to take any action, because you won't be afraid of an emotion that might accompany it. Because the worst that can ever happen in anyone's life is a feeling. We are really scared of our feelings. Now, one of the things that I want to suggest that you practice doing is taking time each day, like just 10 minutes, and allow yourself to feel negative emotions that you're feeling. With weight loss, the way I do it is I ask them to notice when they want to overeat, or when they want to snack, or when they want to eat out of plan, which is basically they want to check out of feeling their feelings or life. I ask them to just practice feeling for 10 minutes instead of eating, instead of avoiding, practicing feeling negative emotion. The way that we have them do is by sit down and describe that emotion inside their body. What is this business that we are trying so hard to escape from? What is so awful that we have to eat the bag of chips? What we realize is that because we've been resisting our emotions for so long, we don't even know what it's like to experience an emotion. Children know how to feel their emotions. They cry when they're sad, they laugh when they're happy, they sleep when they're tired, they snatch us when they're angry. But adults taught us it's not okay to cry, it's not okay to get angry, it's not even okay to feel tired. They didn't know, so they did what their parents taught them and what they knew. We have forgotten how to feel since our childhood. We only know what it's like to resist an emotion and avoid it. So learn what emotions actually feel like. I recommend sit in a chair with a notebook, close your eyes, feel whatever you're feeling. Don't think, just notice what is happening in your body. Like when you have a cold, you know that your nose is stuffy and what's happening, right? When you feel the fever and when you're having a headache. Similarly, just focus on what's happening in your body. Which part is active? Is it your head, shoulder, chest, pelvis? What's the size? Is it moving? Is it pulsating? Is it throbbing? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is it warm? Is it cold? Does it have a color? Is it reducing or is it moving? And what is the message behind that feeling? So you can ask yourself these questions every time you sit with the feeling. So you can open your eyes in between to write down what you're feeling, but then close back and like try to feel it. Feeling your emotion is a skill. It's like learning to speak a new language or learning to ride a bike or starting a new job. It's really uncomfortable in the beginning, but then you get good at it and you figure it out. 10 minutes a day, invite whatever ugliness you think is inside of you to come up and just notice it with fascination and curiosity, not with judgment. Do not judge yourself. For some of you, it might be rage, it might be sadness, maybe depression, maybe even disappointment. Can you give yourself 10 minutes to experience that emotion in its purity and really notice what it feels like, what it's like to experience it? How long does it last? Like, we don't even know how long it lasts, right? Our negative emotion. Most of us don't because we never even allowed it to come through. My go to emotion, which I've gotten really good at, is worry and anxiety. It's like I'm going about having my usual day. Not so great, not so bad. Something's happening, and suddenly I start feeling it. It's when my eyes they start to narrow. I get these wrinkles on my forehead. I get restless. I start hopping from one activity to the other. In the past, my husband and my kid would pick it up immediately. My husband would be like, "Why do you have this weird look on your face?" And my kid would be like, "Mama, smile," because she's like, "Your face is like that." So they can see it, but it's just taking me longer to pick it up. But once I started recognizing it, I found out that my brain is thinking that something really bad is going to happen, that I did something wrong. Now, nothing bad is actually happening, but I'm feeling these emotions because I'm subconsciously perceiving some weird obstacles in my day. All I have to do is tell myself, nothing has gone wrong. We are safe. I'm okay. Everything is going to be okay. And relax. Now, I got to know about these emotions as I sat with them frequently. In the past, I would have just snapped at my husband. I would have overeaten, or I would have snacked, or I would have binge watched Netflix or some shows or shop. Now I have a better handle on my indulgent habits that don't serve me. Many times I find out that there is some task that needs to be done, which is not yet done, and I use my anxiety and worry to guide me, to strategize around the obstacle my mind is worried about. Sometimes it's just background anxiety, nothing actually is wrong. So we need to check both whether it is actually useful anxiety or it's just like background. We have to allow emotions and not react from it. When I'm experiencing anxiety and worry, I'm at home with my family. I'm coaching, I'm playing with my kid during my breaks, I take her to the park. My kid barely would notice something is wrong because I'm actually just allowing it. I'm being in the moment. I'm truly present with my experience of what is going on for me. I think when we are lashing out at people because we are trying so hard to suppress that negative emotion, that there's some strength that goes into that resistance, and that's what's coming out. That's how we are reacting, and this can be very exhausting to feel. Struggling to record this episode because I was supposed to get a call in between. And I'm just waiting for a call to come. So now I'm just gonna like wear this, and if she calls, then I will interrupt and do this again. All right. Anyway, so we were talking about how exhausting it can feel when we are resisting an emotion. So when I'm saying own your negative emotion and give yourself time to actually allow that emotion to come up, I'm not suggesting that you're reacting to that emotion. I'm suggesting that you're just letting it be there and letting it be what it is. That's a very different energy. And in the beginning, it's really important to give yourself time to be like, okay, at noon, I'm going to sit down and really let my negative emotions come up. If it doesn't come up, what I suggest is that you sit down and write down all the thoughts that are in your brain and know that there will be some negative thought in there, and that's okay. By pretending that they're not there, you're not owning them. You can't change them. But if you own them, you might change them. And so many of us will be like, I don't want to like talk about it because I will jinx it. No, it's there and it's jinxing you already. So let it come out and solve it. I think knowing that you are in a negative emotion, you experiencing it and staying present with it, all of it is very sacred and a wonderful experience and a skill that you can develop and really work on throughout your life. The more you're willing to do it, the more you can teach your kids to be willing to do it. I think the more vast your experience will be. Don't take my word for it. Try this out. Take 10 minutes today and sit with yourself and see what emotion comes up and notice what it feels like. What is so awful about it that you are always trying to avoid it? Is it really as bad as you told yourself? Has resisting it been better than actually feeling it? Notice how long it lasts. Are you willing to stay with it long enough to let the discomfort of it to happen and come out on the other side? That's it. That's what that feeling is. You are gonna make it on the other side. You always have. That's just part of being alive. Consider this. What if we were meant to feel the negative emotion half of the time, and half of the time we are supposed to feel positive? What if life was 50-50? Today I was coaching a client and we were talking about her current fears of traveling as she lives in Lebanon and the Israel Gaza war is very palpable in her city. Like they will have these planes going over her and it really freaks her out. So she was worried about traveling to Maldives for vacation as the elections in Maldives are coming up and she worries that, that there's going to be like some sort of hurdle for her to return back. So she wanted to go back to the time before the war. She didn't want to feel what she was feeling right now. And I reminded her that her current negative 50 emotion is coming from this current fear. But before this Gaza war, there was her negativity was there around how she lost her very dear friend. And before that, it was around a promotion she was not getting. And before that, it was around this test that she had to give. And before that, it was around her parents who were pissing her off. And she had shared all these negative emotions over a year with me. So I offered her, even if we move past this war, there will be something else. She and all of us would be negative about. That is part of our negative 50. So, what if we always allow 50% negative emotion? Like, what if we always will have that negative 50 of our lives? What if that were true? How do you feel about that? For me, honestly, it sort of is a relief. It normalizes my emotions a bit. Rather than trying to shake off these negative emotions, that thought allows me to open up to them. Because I know on the other side there's going to be a positive 50. And even when I'm in the positive 50, I know the negative 50 is lurking right around. It's going to come back. But fully experiencing them, both these positive and negative emotions, I realize that this is the part of my humanity, my human experience. So, feeling negative emotions is totally doable. Resisting them is the hard work. So, you get to decide. Do you want to do the easy work of like just sitting with a negative emotion? Or you want to do the hard work, like persisting and making it, trying to go away, which is grows it. All right, my friend, that's it for today. If you are someone who is looking for emotional support around your weight loss or any kind of emotional support in your PCOS life, please reach out to me, book a clarity call with me, and let's see if we can work together so that I can get you to the result that you're after. All right, that's it for today. Bye bye.